Good morning, everybody. Thank goodness it's Thursday. I've never, ever in my life been so happy to see a Thursday. But nonetheless, I hope that you all are doing well, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic day on today. As you know, today is Thursday, May 14th, 2020, and today is a potluck day. Yay! So, for those of you who have no idea what the heck a potluck is, it is simple. A potluck, as it relates to Miss Hampton's math class, is where students bring me concepts that they are having difficulty with, little trouble with. They may need some reinforcement, some reassurance to make sure that they are on the right track. And I, in turn, teach them the concept. So it's a potluck. You know how you bring, the macaroni and the potato salad with the raisins. Oh, that's okay. Anyway, so I say that to say that's what a potluck is. So Mr. McFadden wanted to continue on with factoring quadratic expressions. And Ms. Tiffany, if you come up with something else that you would like to cover, or if you want to continue on with the quadratic expressions, have no issues with that. So we're gonna go ahead and just get it started. Whoop whoop whoop. All right. So as you can see here, I have two problems. Hopefully you all can see them. But if not, I will read them out to you. So this first one says a squared. Oh, okay, I can move it. Okay. A squared minus a minus 90. So that's what the first one says. Okay, I'm going to just move this right on up here. Okay, and we're going to lock that. All right. And we have a ding that just came in. So I just want to acknowledge that someone is joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Anna.
How are you, Miss Philomena?
I'm good. Are you?
I am well, thank you. Today we are just going over our factoring trinomials. And if there's any other topics that you would like to cover, please let me know. But I want to go ahead and just, because Mr. McFadden just wants to make sure that he is on top of these factoring trinomials, which I think he's on top of it. But you just want to make sure. So we're going to work on these two. And again, if there's any other problems that you or any other concepts that you want me to review, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and lock these in place so that way they don't move all over the place. All right. So we have our two problems here. Our first problem again is a squared minus a minus 90. Okay. So again, we're going to work this piece by piece, step by step, and making sure that you know the rules and the regulations and factoring trinomials. All right, so let me pull up my floating toolbar. Hey, toolbar. All right, that's my friend. All right. So tell me what's my first step, Mr. McFadden, in factoring a trinomial? Hmm.
You got to find the factor of the third number.
Yep. So, oops. Now y'all can't see
Third
that.
term.
Y'all can't see that at all. All right. Now y'all can see it. All right. So yes, you are absolutely correct. We are going to factor the third term. Okay. And what would my third term be in this instance?
90.
Okay. Well, negative 90. So remember, if the sign is in front of it, we got it. The number takes the sign, but I got you. All right. So that means we have to find all the numbers. And if we multiply them together, that would give us negative 90. Now, let me go ahead and say this so it won't be any, misunderstandings or anything. Do not be intimidated by how big the numbers are. I really want to make sure that we get this, because if we see a big number, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. You're still going to follow the same steps. Nothing has really changed at all. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to write out two sets of um of factors, because remember, when we multiply negative numbers, a positive times a negative gives us a negative, and also a negative times a positive gives us a negative. So what I'm going to do, I'm simply just going to write out my negative times my positive, and then my positive times my negative. Okay. So I'm going in. I don't think there's a lot of factors. It may be, but we'll see. All right. We have 1 times 90. And then I have 1 times negative 90. I have negative 2 times 45. Then I have 2 times negative 45. Okay. Then I have negative 3, not negative 4, negative 3 times 30. And then I have 3 times negative 40. So, I mean, negative 30. So I hope you all see the importance of knowing your multiplication, because again, the bigger the numbers, I don't want you to be intimidated by, oh my God, these are big numbers and I don't know what to do. So again, if you are not as confident or as strong in your multiplication as you feel you should be, please talk to me, email me, do whatever it is you got to do to get in contact with me, so that way I can provide you with resources, or I can tell you where to go to get the resources. Okay.
I need those resources, Miss Hampton.
I got you, Mr. McFadden. You let me know straight off the rip, like, and I appreciate that. All right, so now we have 5 times 18. And I know y'all like, how in the world did she know all of these? But remember, I am a nerd. I have nothing but time. Had nothing but time, really. Um, 18, negative 18, excuse me. Then we have negative 6 times 15. And then I'm going to tab over and say 6 times negative 15. And then I have, of course, negative 9 times 10. And then I will tab over to say 9 times negative 10. So those are all my factors. All the factors that if I multiply them together would give me negative 90. Remember, and let me, okay. So remember.
So I got lost after.
You got
Hello?
lost where? Yes, I'm here.
I'm sorry. I thought I was hearing something. I got lost after 30. Can we go back to 30?
Okay. When you say you got
So I
lost,
got the negative times 30. I was trying to write down I'm having a brain fart. The factors.
Oh, okay, I see.
Because we were doing two separate columns, one negative, one positive. And so I got lost on negative. I wrote down the negative 3 times 30 and the 3 times negative 30. And so what was the next one?
Negative 5 times 18.
Oh, negative 5 times 18. Okay. And then it was the 6 and the 15. Okay.
Yeah, so these are so in essence, these are the factors. You have negative 5, 18. You have negative 6 and 15. You have negative 9 and 10.
Okay.
And then you're just going to switch out the negative signs for the second part. So positive 5 times a negative 18. You have 6 times negative 15. And then you have a 9 times a negative 10.
I got it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. No problem. All right. So now what I'm, hey now. Okay, fine. All right. So now that we got all that good stuff out the way, what is my next step, Mr. McFadden? Because you are on a roll. Oh, you know what? I'm silly. I ain't got to do that. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm just gonna copy this. All right, all right. Mr. McFadden, you still with me? I hope so. Okay. So I'm gonna find. So my second step for anybody that's watching, my second step is I'm going to find the sum of my second term. And what is my second term?
Is a negative A? I don't know that. Is
No,
that
no.
able to be a negative?
It yes, it is a negative, but what's the number in front of the A?
Mm, well, I guess it'd be -1.
Exactly. Remember, whenever you have a variable that stands alone, the coefficient is 1. If there's a negative sign in front of that variable, your coefficient is -1. Always remember that. That's going to be a very important key, essential part and a key game changer, all of that when it comes to the other good math we're going to do. All right. Especially with the quadratic formula. I can't wait to do the quadratic formula. I love the quadratic. All right. All right. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm simply just going to change my multiplication sign to addition. Okay. So that's why I went ahead. When you saw me, I went ahead and I just copied and pasted it because it really wouldn't have made any sense for me to rewrite all of these. That's just silly. All right. So again, really? Oh, okay. I see what I did. All right. So again, I just want to also say this. We're going to use deductive reasoning, aka common sense, when it comes to these problems. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because this will save you a lot of time on your GED exam. Okay. So it's very important that we use techniques and tricks to um, help us in navigating through our math GED. All right. So, okay, there we go. So I am not going to use the first four pairs. I'm not going to use -1 plus 90. I'm not going to use 1 plus -90. The 2 and the 45, I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use 3 and 30. I'm not going to use 18 and 5 simply because of this. I'm looking for a negative number, a small negative number. And I know that those larger numbers will not yield me smaller numbers. So that's where the deductive reasoning in and the logic and the common sense comes in as it relates to math. Okay. So I'm not going to use any of these. I am only solely going to look at these two, the ones that I'm going to go ahead and try to underline. Uh-oh. See, I knew that was going to happen. I knew it. All right. So I'm just going to use that one. And I'll go ahead and, well, no, I'm not going to hold it. Okay. I'll go ahead and use -6 plus 15. I'll go ahead and use 6 plus -15. And I'm going to go ahead and use -9 plus 10 and 9 plus -10. And somebody is calling me, but they're going to have to wait. I think it's scam likely or something. But anyway, so I'm only going to use the numbers that are, what am I looking for? Only going to use the numbers that are underlined. So when I do that, I'm going to put equal. So I'm actually going to go ahead and solve these things. That's going to give me a 9. 15 minus 6 gives me 9. That's not what I'm looking for anyway. And 6 plus negative 15, that, uh-oh, longer. This thing is ripping. All right. All right, there we go. All right, so again, we have 9 here, and we have negative 9. Okay, but those are not the numbers that I want to use anyway. What I want to find is negative 1. So I'm going to go down here. 10 minus 9, or negative 9 plus 10, gives me a positive 1. That's not what I'm looking for. So now I have no choice but to use 9 and negative 10 as my numbers. Okay, because that's the number that I want. So I am going to go ahead and bold this. Okay, to show you all that these are the numbers that I will be using in my binomial. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. Now, everybody still with me? Everybody okay? This is going to be actually a quick lesson today. It's going to be real quick. My nose, y'all. You know what's going on. All right. So now my third step, and I hope I can write it down here. Make it long. All right. So now I'm going to factor. All right. So now I'm going to factor the first term. And my first term is a squared. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type that for you all. That's going to be a squared. Okay. So because I have a squared here, oops, I'm simply going to say a multiplied by a, or a times a. A. All right. All right. So now I have found my numbers, which is 9 and negative 10. And then I have factored my first term, which is a times a. So my final answer, and I'm going to go ahead and write it up here. My final answer would be this. It will be a plus 9 times a minus 10. Okay. So I'm going to break this down even further so that way you can see it. So I want you to follow my arrow, follow my cursor. But before we do that, why is this thing? There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So I want you to follow my pen as I show you where we got the numbers from. Okay. So I said A. I said this A, and that's going to be added to 9. So that's where we got the A plus 9 at the top here. Okay. So I took these two monomials and I made them into binomials. Okay. And then I took this other A and I said that's multiplied by negative 10. And that's what we see up here. Okay. So again, please make sure that you are following my pen to further explain how we came up with our binomial of A plus 9, and that's times or multiplied by A minus 10. So that's our answer for that. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to give you all an opportunity to see if you can do number 19. Now, number 19 is as follows. It says P squared, so that's P and the number 2 in the sky, plus 11P plus 10. So the good news of all of this is that both of our binomials are going to be positive because we are dealing with nothing but we have two addition signs here. Okay, so remember, when we have two negative signs, one of our binomials is going to be positive and the other is going to be negative. Okay, so always keep those rules that we talked about earlier in this week in mind. That way, that will help you determine what kind of binomial that you need to write. Okay. All right, so I want to give you all a couple of minutes just to see if you all can work on this particular trinomial by yourself. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and cover my camera. Going to cover my camera, but I will be back in about 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. And if you get stuck somewhere, we'll go over it step by step again. But again, the problem says P squared plus 11P plus 10. Okay. So I want you all to work on factoring the trinomial of this. I'm going to cover my camera really quick and I'll be right back after these messages. And don't laugh at me.
Oh. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Oh. Let me mute my phone.
I'm true.
So how are we coming along?
Goods.
All right, wonderful.
So I have P plus 2 times P plus 5. But I'm not sure if that's right because you're supposed to be able to create the 11P, correct?
Yep.
So I'm not really sure on that part.
Okay, excuse me.
Yes, Miss Philomena.
What I got is P plus 1 parentheses P plus 10.
That is correct. So, Miss Tiffany, do you see why that answer is what Miss Philomena said?
What did she say? She said P plus 1
She said P plus
and
1
P plus 10.
and P plus 10. Yes, ma'am. So do you see why
Okay.
that's the correct answer?
No, not really, but
Okay, well, no worries. I will go over it. So give me 1 second.
because I'm just on the phone. I
Okay,
can't see the screen.
right. Okay, well, no, that's the reason why I'm going to explain it to you. I mean, that's what they pay me the 3 digits for. So I got it. All right. So you all can go ahead and put yourselves back on mute for a quick second. I'm just trying to get this thing together. It's not cool. I don't know why this does this all the time. It's weird. Okay. All right. So to Miss Tiffany and to anyone else that's watching this playback, um, how we came up with that, how Miss Philomena came up with the answer was this. She factored the third term, and our third term was 10. So we're going to write out all the factors that if we multiply them together would give us 10. So that is simply going to be 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a little copy and paste in here because that's just kind of what I do. Now, the next step that we will have to do is we're going to find the sum of the second term. And my second term is 11. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm now going to change my multiplication signs to addition because remember the word sum means to add. All right. So when I do this, 11, that's the answer that I want, but just for the sake of continuity. Okay.
I see it now. I guess it's the wrong factor,
Ah,
but
and that's especially that can happen from time to time, but you want to be careful, especially when you have the mixed signs, because I talked about this a little bit on yesterday. But if you have the same, I'm sorry, if you have like the same numbers, but the signs are incorrect, then that will definitely also give you a wrong answer as well. So just be very mindful, be very, very mindful of making sure that you use not only the correct numbers, but also make sure that the signs are correct as well. Okay, so now
so
I'm just
the trinomial.
what's that, Miss Tiffany? Oh.
I was saying the trinomial is basically the answer to the binomial.
No, flip it. The binomial is the answer to the trinomial.
Okay.
So you just you said it, but you just got to flip it. All right. So now I'm just going to type out all of these. One more. We're going to say now we're going to factor. Wow. Really? Is that what we really doing? Okay. Factor the first term. And my first term is p squared. So now remember, when you are taking your math GED exam, please do not write all of this stuff out. I would hope that when Auntie Rona and Uncle Virus go away And when these testing centers open up again, hopefully we will have had enough practice, and you all will have had enough practice and skill to just look at it and recognize, oh, this is a trinomial. Boom, I got to factor it. Like that's kind of what I want. All right. So just want to put that out there.
Excuse me, Mister.
Yes, Miss Philomena.
That's exactly the question I had wanted to ask. But let me see the opportunity to ask it now. Like in the exam, how do I identify trinomials, questions, and the like?
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand your question. You want to know how would you know to factor it?
No. How do we know the question that is trinomial and the question that is binomial and the rest? All those ones you taught us some time ago, they all look alike. So how do we differentiate the questions? How can we identify the questions?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so what you would have to do, you will have they're going to tell you more than likely, Miss Philomena, and you can put yourself back on mute.
All right.
More than likely they're going to say, factor this quadratic expression, or they may give you this trinomial and they may say solve by using the quadratic formula, which we're going to get into next week. Okay, so it's all about making sure that you recognize the terminologies that's being used. So if they had this problem on there and they said solve, you should look at that and automatically know that looks like that's a trinomial because I have three terms that are not alike. And so because I have three terms that are not alike, I honestly cannot subtract none of these terms. So that lets me know, oh, I have to factor it. So that's the way that you can tell the difference in how to solve. Now, as soon as I write out these answers, I really want to show you all something, and hopefully you all will catch this connection. Okay. So hopefully, Miss Philomena, I hope I answered your question to the best of my ability.
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So really, why is this thing? Okay. All right. So my final answer, once I do all of this, and I'm going to write the answer down here simply because I ran out of room, it's going to be P, that's P plus 1, and that's going to be multiplied by P times 10. Okay, so again, I am going to write out or follow my pen so that way you can see where the numbers came from. So I have P plus 1, which is represented here. And then I am going to multiply it by P times 10. I mean, P plus 10, excuse me. Okay, because both of my numbers are positive. That is the reason why I have two addition signs here, because these numbers are represented as being positive numbers. Okay, so I'm going to now, okay, so before I open up another page, and before I show you all something else, how do we feel so far about factoring trinomials? Is it easier now? Is it something that we understand? Or is this something that we still need to do a little more practice on?
It's okay.
You said you feel good about it, Miss Philomena?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. What about you, Miss Tiffany? I don't know if her and Mr. McFadden is still on or not, but
I'm
nonetheless, huh?
hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I feel okay about it. I feel like I just need to do a few more because I had missed out on a few days, so I just need to catch up. But I understand the concept, and so I watched the playback, and I should be fine.
Okay. Well, that's no problem at all. On it looks like we lost Mr. McFadden. I'm so sad. But hopefully he'll get an opportunity to watch the playback and But it seemed like he had a pretty good handle on it as well. So for that, I'm satisfied. All right. So this is what I wanted to show you all. Do 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 do. All right. And I'm just making this up off the top of my head. Okay. You know what? I'm going to type this out. I don't feel like writing. I'm being lazy today. All right. All right. So when we multiply binomials, remember, let me see which one I want to do. Okay. I'm going to say x plus 3. I'm going to keep this as simple as I can. X plus 3 times x plus 7. Okay. Now, when we look at that, we recognize that as really as multiplying binomials. How do we know that we are multiplying binomials? Simply because we have parentheses. And because we have parentheses along with an addition sign or operational sign in the middle, that lets us know that I'm going to be using one of the three methods that we've already discussed, which will either be the FOIL method, the box method, or the distributive property method. Okay, so that is how you know that you will be multiplying binomials. Now, when we actually do all of this, and I want to make sure that you all catch this connection, our answer is going to be in a trinomial. So our answer in a trinomial, once we solve that particular expression, it is going to be this. It is going to be, x squared plus 10. I knew that was going to happen. Come on now. All right. Plus 10x plus 21. Well, let me put it down here. All right. So when we multiply out the entire binomials, when we multiply the two binomials, we are going to get an answer as a trinomial. Now, what we've been doing for the past week, we've been working backwards. Okay, so I want to make sure that you all catch the connection between multiplying binomials and factoring trinomials. Oh, I think Mr. McFadden is back.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I had a important phone call.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. I ain't mad about it.
Yeah.
All right. But Mr. McFadden, what I'm going over now is I'm going over the relationship between multiplying binomials and factoring trinomials. So that's really what I'm doing right now. So hopefully, again, you all can see the connection between when you multiply binomials, your answer will be in a trinomial. Okay. Now, when we factor binomials, we're going backwards. So that means, and I'm going to go ahead and type this out too. All right. So when we factor trinomials, our answer will be as a binomial. Okay. So For example, I am going to use x squared. Um, I'm keeping it simple here. Plus 10x plus 25. So I'm keeping it as I'm using addition because that's the simple way, that anything with addition is simple. All right. Now, when I factor this out by following the rules, find the factors of the third term, add them together, all that good stuff. This is going to be my answer. My answer is simply going to be x plus 5 times x plus 5. So, or if you want to simplify this and write it another way, this will also be an acceptable answer. Okay. Really? Wow. How did that happen? Okay. All right. So I want to make sure that you all catch these connections because, again, and this actually goes back to further answer your question, Ms. Philomena. You have to make sure that you recognize what to do whenever you see a particular problem. So, again, they're not always going to tell you solve. They're probably just going to simply say solve this problem. So I don't want you to be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. You must recognize that these two things are multiplying binomials. So you're going to do the FOIL method or the box method or the distributive property method to solve those particular problems. Your answer should be or will be in a trinomial. If you get something totally different, that means you either missed a step or you did something wrong. So again, just make sure that you have the multiplying binomials down pat, okay? Because once you do, then factoring trinomials will be easy because now instead of us going forwards, we're going backwards, if that makes any kind of sense. Okay. So, how do we feel about binomials and trinomials and all these other nomials of the world? Well, I guess y'all feel good. Y'all not saying nothing. So no news is good news to me. So this is what I'm going to do. The worksheet that I gave you all, it was 2 pages, right? Yeah, it was 2 pages. I emailed you all a worksheet. I want to say it was Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. But this is what I want you all to do because I have the worksheet here. Hold on.
Miss Out.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget about me about the sheet for the factoring.
Oh, for multiplication.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got you. I
Thank
will email, no problem. I'll make sure to email that to you immediately following this recording.
you. All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, this was the sheet. I know I emailed y'all this sheet. Let me blow it up so y'all can see it. Let me blow upshuate it. And for those who are watching the playback, blow upshuate is not a word. So please do not write it in your English essay because it's a made up word. Now, you can go to Kuta Software Infinite Algebra 1. That's where I get most of my worksheets from, and it's free. It's a free resource. They have everything. When I say everything, they got everything. And I picked this worksheet simply because this deals with factoring trinomials and reinforcing binomials, but also we can use the quadratic formula to solve these same problems. So in essence, next week, we are going to be working on the quadratic formula. So this is what I want to show you very, very quickly, and then y'all can enjoy the rest of y'all day. All right, let me see which. All right, I want a look at number 15. I'm going to blow it up so that way you all can see it. So number 15 says 2n squared plus 6n minus 108. Now, there's technically two ways you can solve this problem. You can divide by 2, and then you can factor the trinomial. Or you can use the quadratic formula. Now, I am going to reiterate this all next week, so, but I'm just preparing you for it now. And let me go back up. Let me make sure. Okay. So, number 13, which is b squared minus 6b plus 8, the coefficient for the first term is 1. So you can factor a trinomial. It's easier to use the to factor trinomials with the steps that we've been going over all week by using those steps, because the coefficient for the first term is 1. So when you have a coefficient that is 1, that's the first term, you can factor it easily. When we get to something like number 15, which is 2n squared plus 6n minus 108, that becomes very tricky, because now we have a coefficient or a number that's in front of the first term. And the placement of everything is going to be very important. So I always tell my students, when it comes to these types of problems, you want to just do the regular factoring. When it comes to problems like number 15, you want to use the quadratic formula. That's what you want to do, okay? There's no other way around it, simply because that process is going to be easier, okay? So just remember, next week we are going to dive into the quadratic formula, and just because I really like the quadratic formula so much, I really want to show y'all what that is. All right. And I have to write it out because it's so pretty. Now, I'm getting ready to write out the quadratic formula. Please don't be alarmed, okay? I promise you. So this is the quadratic formula. And I know y'all like, wait a minute. So the quadratic formula is as follows. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, I'm going to end it like this. I hope that you all come back next week. I hope I don't run y'all away with this quadratic formula. But if it helps you and if it eases your spirit, you can simply think of this as nothing more than a fraction. That's all the quadratic formula is. It's just a big fraction. Okay? That's all it is. Because all of this at the top represents your numerator, and the 2a at the bottom represents your denominator. So in essence, the quadratic formula is nothing more than a complex fraction. But the good news is we know how to operate and deal with fractions. With fractions, you simply are just simplifying them, making it smaller. You're reducing it. So that's the good news. Okay. Again, the quadratic formula also deals with basic arithmetic. So if you know how to add, multiply, and divide and subtract, add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers, this is not going to be a problem. I can almost bet on it is not going to be a problem. Okay, so This is what I want you all to work on. The worksheet that I gave you all, I want you to do some more practice by factoring the trinomials. If you come across a problem that has a number in front of it with the first term, do not do those. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and make this real easy for you. So that way it won't even be a misunderstanding. All right. So on the second page, please don't do number 17. I'm circling the ones that you don't have to do, because we are going to save these problems for the quadratic formula. All right. Man. All right. All right. And I think it was one more up here. I think. Okay. It was a couple more, heap more. All right. All right. So that's going to leave you with numbers 13, 14, 18, 19, 23, 24, 25. And we actually did some of those in class today. So that's the good news. So I just want you all to perfect and practice factoring trinomials by the rules that we've been doing on this week. And next week, we are going to tackle the good old quadratic formula, which next to slope is my personal fave. Don't you see excited how excited I am? Aren't y'all excited? Y'all don't look excited? Okay, that's cool.
We are, Miss Sam.
I mean, you don't have to convince me. But all jokes aside, I want you all to see that we're just building upon things that we already know. And that's one way I really want you all to look at it. I don't want you to look at this as like, oh my God, I can't believe I got to do this. This is crazy. Think of it as, I think I did this before, but it just looks funny. Think of it that way. And then you're going to be able to embrace the quadratic formula. You're going to be able to recognize how to do the quadratic formula, because really it is just basic arithmetic and dealing with integers. So if you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers, quadratic formula is going to be a breeze. It's going to be easy. You're going to be like me and want to do quadratic formula all the time. Okay. So do we have any questions at all? I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share. But do we have any questions at all over what we've done today? How do we feel about today's lesson?
I feel good.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Miss Philomena, how about you?
It's good. Apart from the
Wonderful,
complication.
wonderful. Okay, very happy to hear that. All right, so I want you all to work on those problems. And I will be sure to get you your resources, Mr. McFadden, um, as you requested. And I'm going to try to get this video uploaded to you all by 12:30, so that way you all can, watch the playback and take any notes, get anything that you may have missed. All right.
Uh, Thank you so much, Miss Sam.
No, thank you all. I really do appreciate you all's consistency. I appreciate your willingness and your time of just coming and just to see me, because I really miss our interactions. I really do. So I thank you.
Thank you, Miss Anthony.
You are very welcome. You all have a wonderful and blessed weekend, and I pray to see you all on Monday. All right. So bye. Oh, okay. All right. There we go.